Good day and welcome to another A Week at the Plot and a Monday segment, and it's just before 7 o'clock in the morning. I've got two plot neighbours down, one at the side of me here, the ones that grow the most amazing sweet corn, they're watering, and another of my plot neighbours over there is watering as well. She grows the most amazing flowers, really stunning and gorgeous. And yeah, there's water in the water butt, and this morning I'm going to be watering mainly with my watering can because it's feeding day. It's feeding day at the plot, so I'm going to be watering with my watering can. There's water in the water butt, so actually as they're using their hoses I can get on and water anyway, so that's absolutely great. If nobody is using the water, the tap at the end of my feeding session, I may plug the hose in to do that final wash through and wash down of the feed into the soil. And I was going to talk a little bit about watering today and watering in heat, because today is likely to break records in the UK, certainly in our area in London, and may even get to above 40 degrees. At the moment in London the record is about 38 degrees, but yeah, they're looking at possibly that 40 degree being broken, which of course is all down to climate change. And if there's any climate change deniers on here, please switch off and unsubscribe now, because denying something that is true doesn't mean it's not happening. And yeah, I was going to talk about watering, and then I saw Vivi's video yesterday where she was doing her tomato cares, and she talked a lot about watering in heat in that, and I'm going to put a link to that here. If you want to watch the tomato cares, do, and I think the watering advice comes about halfway through, but I'll put a link here. So I won't talk about sort of watering because I don't need to, because Vivi has done it. But one thing that I am going to mention is some totally ludicrous advice. It is advice that I saw in the Daily Express from professionals. And I'm sure these people are professionals. You know, I'm an amateur. I said that in last week's A Week at the Plot. You know, most of us YouTubers are amateurs, and we're giving you what we're doing and what works for us, and we're telling you, if we're honest, about when things don't work for us as well, so that you can think, oh, they did it that way and I won't do it that way because it didn't work for them. You know, sometimes we trial things out, like putting beans on top of compost in a highly scientific experiment to see how they will do. Sow them on top of compost, and it, you know, it didn't work for us. It works for our next door neighbour, didn't work for us. But yeah, the advice was, I mean, there was ridiculous advice, like never ever water at the end of the day. Because if you water at the end of the day, the soil, if it's been really hot, will be really dry, and the water could pool on top and kill your plants. I mean, I genuinely, I cannot think of any plants on an allotment or in a garden that are going to die due to pooling of water rather than not being watered. You know, as Vivi says, you know, whether you water at the beginning of the day, or whether you water at the end of the day, or whether you water when it's just convenient for you, water. Because, you know, giving a plant too much water is not good. Giving a plant no water is not good. And if you find that the time that you have best to water at your plot is in a tea break in the afternoon between your work, or at lunchtime, or, you know, between 1 or 2 in the morning, because you do, you know, odd shifts, maybe not odd these days, but odd shifts to me, and 1 or 2 in the morning is the time for you to get down and water, because it's the only time that you've got. Do it. You know, it's better that things get watered on a regular basis, not overwatered, but they get watered on a regular basis, rather than they don't get watered at all. Because if things don't get watered at all in the heats that we're having at the moment here, they will just die. So yeah, be wary of that. The other thing I wanted to say in this segment. The last four, maybe five, maybe a few more weeks, but definitely last 4 weeks, I've been editing a week at the plot, and I've been thinking there's something missing, and I didn't know what it was. I couldn't put my finger on it. And then in the video that Vivi did, which I linked to a minute ago, she is in the garden early in the morning. I think it's around 7 o'clock, around the same time as now. And one of the things that you can hear in the background is parakeets. Loads and loads and loads of parakeets chirping away, as they do at this time in the morning. I've also noticed that behind me, I'm not sure if you can see, where's the apple tree? The apple tree is sort of over there. Usually at this time of year, I have a parakeet line on the apple tree, because the parakeets will eat the apples from above human head height, but they won't eat apples below. So I have the apples at the bottom, and then I have eaten apples or no apples at the top. And I noticed the other day when we were walking around with the RHS guys and Plant Heritage guys, listen. Can you hear that? That's very prescient, because that's what I'm coming on to. So yeah, usually there's lots of parakeets and we hear the parakeets. Though this morning, hi Zach, this morning and other mornings, they just haven't been chirping away. And I have realised in the last 24 hours, having watched Vivi's video, that the thing that has been missing in my videos, largely compared to, let's say, a year ago or even 3 months ago, is parakeet noise. And I was wondering why that might be. And I believe it is down to that noise that we have just heard, because we have a group here called Ealing Wildlife Group, and it's all about wildlife in Ealing. And one of the things that we've been looking at over the last year or so, but particularly over the last month or so, is the fact that we have peregrine falcons nesting at Ealing Hospital. So on the ramparts, because it looks a bit like that, the ramparts of flat area up at Ealing Hospital, 2 peregrine falcons have been had their nest there for more than a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And this year, some of the chicks fledged. They had eggs, the eggs hatched, and they have fledged. And what we heard just then were peregrine falcons flying over the allotment. Now, obviously, peregrine falcons are predators, and they can quite easily, at their full size, take down a parakeet. And I reckon that we have fewer parakeets here now, far, far fewer parakeets now, because parakeets are actually avoiding this area because it's part of the hunting ground of the peregrine falcons at Ealing Hospital. I don't have any proof of that, but it just seems to make sense to me. So I'm going to contact Sean McCormack, who's the head of Ealing Wildlife, and I'm going to ask him if that may be the case, because it was clear to me, having watched Vivi's video with all those parakeets chirping in the background, that the thing that was missing from my videos over the last 4 weeks or more is lots and lots of parakeet noise, because at this time in the morning we would have so much parakeet noise and we don't. So there we are. Right, I'm going to leave it here for this Monday segment of A Week at the Plot, and I'm going to start my watering regime. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting the bottles with the bottom cut out into the ground to feed our cucurbits, so to feed our squash, so that when we water into the bottle, and then it gets directed down to the roots, because I know all of our cucurbits are growing really well at the moment, and I think they could do now with water being directed further to the bottom, because those roots have really taken hold, things have started to grow, and I want those roots to go further down and get nutrients that are further down as well. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. It'll also mean that when the leaves really take hold, we'll know exactly where to water, because the bottle and the stick will be sticking out. If you've watched Vivi, you've seen her do this. She puts her bottles in, I think, much earlier than I do. You know, that's what she prefers, and that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to get on and do that, and we'll most probably pick up on that in the next segment. See you very soon. Good day. So I have inserted upturned cordial bottles that have had the bottom cut out of them into the soil, maybe by about an inch. Other people do it deeper. I just do it like this, about an inch deep, and then stuck a bamboo cane or something that you can use to hold it there so that it doesn't move or blow away. At the end, when I was doing some watering, I hadn't pushed the neck of the bottle in quite far enough, and the water sort of started pooling around the neck of the courgette. Yes, because it was a courgette. So I just pushed the neck in a little bit more, and basically I just fill these up each day and let them drip down into the compost below. And of course I will feed this way as well. So in a minute I'm going to get some liquid feed and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. They will all go down at different rates, some quicker than others. I usually find that with my soil it takes somewhere between 20 minutes and an hour for the full amount of water to drip down into the soil below. But that's absolutely fine, you know, this is like drip feeding. So yeah, so once I've diluted my feed, I will be filling each of these up and letting that fall to the bottom. And in this case, because the feed is going straight into the soil and it's not hitting any of the leaves at all, I won't be doing any further topping up with water, because I don't need to rinse down any residue and I don't need to rinse any of the feed off leaves. So there we are. That's how at this stage I begin to water and feed our cucurbits, which are courgettes, cucumbers, squash, marrows, you know, that type of thing, though we don't actually grow marrow. And of course in the marrow and courgette world there's a whole discussion about whether marrow is a separate vegetable actually to a courgette, or whether a marrow that we grow in the UK as an English vegetable marrow is actually just a giant courgette. Anyway, we won't go into that, maybe another day. Right, I'm going to leave it there. See you again soon. I'm doing tomato cares now, taking off side shoots. There's a side shoot there, not sure if you can see that, and tying in. These are our Guernsey tomatoes. I have to say, this way of tying tomatoes seems so strange to me, because I normally do a tomato frame and I tie string at the bottom and it goes straight up to a horizontal bamboo cane. But this year, not quite sure why, I'm not doing that. But that's okay. See here the first Guernsey toms growing, which is good. Another bit of string. Oh no, there's a bit of string. So that's these tied in into their canes. As I say, it just feels so strange tying into canes rather than twisting around a vertical string, but that's where I am this year and we'll see how it does for us. These are the red ox heart. They've had all their lower leaves taken off a good few days ago before the heat hit, and they're looking okay, nothing special. Bit wimpy. Then over here there's a lot of shade there, I know, but that's because there's really bright sun. These, I have no idea what these are, I'm gonna have to look back, but I've really been lax with labelling of tomatoes this year. But these have all been tied in and side shoots taken off. Not all side shoots, because I don't know whether some of them are cordons or bushing types. So I'm sort of just seeing how I feel about each plant this year, because I just don't know. But I will tie them in. Over here, we know these are mainly the Guernsey tomatoes, and actually they're beginning to put on growth and do okay. 3 in the centre at the back aren't, but the rest are. And I have just put these canes in, as you've seen, taken out side shoots and tied them in. It's now, I think, about 9:30 on Monday morning. Oh, look at this beauty. Is that focusing? Yeah. Anyway, it's about 9:30 on Monday morning. I've been here since about 7, doing watering and things. This is the other tomato bed, and over on the far side there we've got mainly, I think, Black Krim, and this side a real mix. I really don't know what is there. I'm in the shadow, all my shadow's there, sorry about that. We come this way. So some of the Black Krim over there I'm actually leaving to bush out, but I'm going to be taking leaves off. So the 3 in the middle. Some of these have got fruit coming. They've got such fabulous flowers. I'm not sure if you can see that, but such lovely flowers. But yeah, some have got fruit. You can see, I'm not sure if you can see there, over there. They've all had a really good water. And actually the Black Krim, assuming these are Black Krim, if I've got that right, are looking the best. And I think then the Guernseys. But the rest I don't know about. And in terms of poles, I haven't got enough poles for one for each tomato, so therefore I think doing frames means I use less bamboos, which sort of makes sense. I think in this bed here I've positioned 3 bamboo along a row, and I'm going to do the California weave technique with those to tie them in. I think that's the best thing to do. So that will be with that whole bed. I'm actually going to use this stake here. I need to find another one for the middle, and then that will be a California weave and hold up this one that, oh I can't, this one that's down here as well. But you know what, that heat is really beginning to kick in now. I know it can only be about 30 degrees, but it's beginning to kick in. Could be an awful lot hotter today, and I'm going to be down early again tomorrow morning to tie the rest of these in. So yeah, I'm going to say goodbye now, and I may see you briefly tomorrow. Bye. Good day. It is now Tuesday morning. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I've got a plot neighbour here watering, and our direct plot neighbours here have just arrived as well, and they're doing watering and chicken cares. And I am just down for maybe an hour, As you saw, I did quite a lot yesterday. I'm going to do some tomato cares in a minute, but I just wanted to mention once again about topping up of wildlife ponds. Because of this mad Iberian plume that we've got at the moment, yesterday hit, certainly upstairs at our house, in my office, 37 degrees. It was quite cool overnight compared to that. It was like 24 degrees last night, so I slept really quite well. But today they're saying it could even get up to 40 degrees or over 40 degrees, in some parts of the UK 42 degrees. So I am making sure that the wildlife ponds are topped up. They haven't been done for a couple of days, so yeah, definitely time to do that. It looks as though the weather is going to break tomorrow, which is Wednesday, and there may even be some rainfall on Wednesday. So hopefully, if there is, some sort of fresh water can go from the skies, can go into the ponds. But one thing I did want to mention, I realised when Vivi mentioned it the other day to me when we were having a chat on the phone, that I haven't mentioned that the watering can that I use to top up my wildlife ponds, I never ever put any feed into it, whether it's organic feed or chicken manure pellets that then get diluted. I never, or rehydrated and diluted, I never ever put any feed into that watering can that I use to top up the wildlife ponds. It would not be sensible. I'm fortunate and privileged in some ways that I've got the money to have 2 watering cans, and one of the watering cans is for general purpose, and that one is really, the main purpose of that one is just the wildlife ponds. I do use it for watering as well, but I never ever put feed in it. So the other watering can that I've got, that is the one where if I'm diluting our comfrey and nettle feed, or I'm diluting an organic commercial feed that we've got, or if I'm going to be putting chicken manure pellets in and then rehydrating them and using that as a tea, that's the one that I use, not the one that I use for the wildlife ponds. And also something else that I've done, I took advice from subscribers and people on Planet Vegetaria, is the hydrangea that I potted up the other day. I've covered it in netting, so I've covered it in 2 layers of scaff netting, and that will keep the sort of major brunt of the sun off it for the next, well, for today and maybe into tomorrow as well. And we'll see what the temperatures are like tomorrow, and if they are falling and they look as though they are going to stay that way, then I'll most probably take it off. But yeah, it's giving it additional shade at the moment, which of course is really good for it. And of course I have picked the first beans. Oh, glorious. Absolutely glorious. I mean, so juicy, because I've just picked them, and really bursting with flavour. Yum, yum. I've only picked about 8. There's another maybe 3 times that amount to pick, so we'll be having those this evening. Those are Madeira Maroon. The runners are a little bit behind the Madeira Maroon. It's interesting because the Madeira Maroon, if you remember, were the ones that were slower, but they've actually come to harvest quicker. The Golden Gate, they haven't turned yellow yet. They're about the same size in terms of bean pod, but they haven't turned yellow yet, so they're not ready to harvest. I reckon there'll be another day or so we will see how they go. And that's about it. I'm going to do watering of the cucurbits again. I'm happy with everything else that I watered yesterday, because I gave everything a really good water yesterday, as you are aware. But I'm going to give the cucurbits some, I'm going to give the polytunnel some, and then I'm going to go home and have a cup of tea and have breakfast. And we're going to leave it there for this week's A Week at the Plot. and I will see you next week if you watch this on YouTube for further episodes of, well, the further upload of A Week at the Plot. Or I'll see you on Planet Vegetarian if you watch there, and if you watch on both, even better. See you very soon. Bye.